Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesdays for the Planet. My name's Susan Wingfield. I'm a program officer with the UN Environment Programme's Secretariat of the Basel, Rotterdam and Stockholm Conventions. And it's a pleasure to welcome you today to the discussion on the plastics problem and what our specific response has been as a Secretariat. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank Jen, the Geneva Environment Network, for including us in this event today. So just to start quickly with the global plastics problem, which I'm sure many are familiar with. Of course, plastics serve a very vital function in our lifestyles, our livelihoods, but there is a big issue with plastic pollution and plastic waste that is not treated properly. Now you can see from this graph that since 1950, really global plastics production has shot through the roof. We're talking about, in terms of plastic waste, 6.3 billion tons having been produced since the 1950s. And it's really scary to know that only 9% of this volume has actually been recycled. So you can imagine how much has actually made it to incinerators, landfills, or into our oceans and been dumped on land. Now, this next slide I included really to give you a sense of why this issue has really come to the fore in the past few years. Now, it was the case up until 2018 that governments around the world were shipping or exporting much of their municipal waste, including plastic waste, to China. And China was effectively dealing with the world's waste. Now, in 2018, China said, we're not willing to do this anymore. We are closing our doors, and this saw really a dramatic drop in exports to China, of course, because they were no longer permitted. There were many, you may recall at the time, there were many accounts in newspapers around the world of municipal waste piling up at docks, in municipalities, in other waste sites, because simply countries around the world, many did not have the capacity to deal with this buildup of the waste if it couldn't be exported to China. This saw, unfortunately, for many countries, they became the new destination for these shipments of waste. You can see here in the graph on the right-hand side, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia really taking the brunt of the diverted exports from China. And I mean, of course, additionally, some other countries, the Philippines, for example, Indonesia, some well-publicized situations where they have received shipments of waste and turned them back to countries, to developed countries, saying, we do not have the capacity to manage this waste. So it's really brought the issue to the fore. Now, where the Basel, Rotterdam and Stockholm Conventions come in, well, really at this point, it's predominantly the Basel Convention. The Basel Convention is the global agreement or multilateral environmental agreement on hazardous and other waste. Also, the Stockholm Convention of these three MEAs is relevant. Many of you may know it deals with persistent organic pollutants, and really in the upcoming future, we'll see that this convention starts to play a more prominent role also in terms of additives to plastic and those that can create a big issue for human health and the environment. But today I really want to focus on the Basel Convention, because that is where the governments that are parties to the convention, so we have 188 parties at present, which is really near universal membership of the convention. They decided back in May 2019 on a raft of measures to address the plastic pollution issue. Now, the first of which is probably the most well-known, the plastic waste amendments. These actually became effective not too long ago, a few weeks ago, on the 1st of January this year. Now, what the amendments essentially do is they're designed with the intent of making the plastic waste, trade in plastic waste, more transparent and better controlled. So there will be, the convention has what we call a prior informed consent procedure. And for plastics, certain plastics will have to be, can only be traded under this prior informed consent mechanism. So it means that for plastics that could create an issue for countries in terms of their management at the other end when they're imported, that those countries exporting will need to notify the countries that are going to accept or not accept the plastic waste, that they have that intention to do so. So this gives the importing countries more options, or the more options to refuse to consent to any imports. So, as I said, better control of this whole waste trade. Just to look at a few of the expected impacts of the amendments. So we're looking at promoting recycling, because really the convention's not looking to stop the plastic trade or the trade in plastics waste. What it's looking to do, as I said, is to better control it. And really those wastes that are going to be easily recycled, of single polymer, for example, are not contaminated, are well sorted, those have a green light to go. It's just the problematic waste, that plastic waste, that the convention will really be able to help curb the export and subsequent import of those wastes. Now, we should know that environmentally sound management is an important provision under the convention. So the convention, the parties to the convention and the Secretariat is really working with all countries to try and promote this principle. Next, we have promoting the principle of sustainable production and consumption. There's various ways in which the plastic waste amendments will do this. There's actually some actions through the convention, which I will come to in a moment, that are also seeking to promote this important sustainable development goal. And here, preventing dumping, as I said, there will be this role of a consent procedure in the plastic waste trade, which will really allow importing countries better control over what they do and don't receive. And then, of course, combating plastic pollution. The idea is that waste that is better managed within the trading sphere, and then within the management sphere, I've referred to environmentally sound management, that will help combat this issue of plastic pollution by preventing the waste from entering the ocean to begin with. So just some other really complementary actions of that the Conference of the Parties agreed to. So I'm only going to choose a couple of these because I'm aware that time is passing quickly, but probably of most import for us, for our discussion today, is under the convention. It's quite a technical convention. There's many annexes that really give form to the provisions of the convention. So they, for example, define different types of waste that are subject to the prior informed consent procedure, what types of characteristics they might have, and so forth. This means that we have many sets of technical guidelines that really aim at assisting governments in implementing the provisions of the convention. And the plastic waste guidelines is one such set of guidelines, which the parties are actually undertaking to update. So it's hoped, I'm not sure if we have our next Conference of the Parties in July this year. I don't know if they'd be ready for agreement this year, but certainly in the upcoming years, that there will be this new technical specification for how to manage plastic waste, which will serve as a great repository of information for all stakeholders. The next action that really is complementary to both the technical guidelines and the plastic waste amendments is the creation of a plastic waste partnership. Now, this partnership is open to all stakeholders, so governments. We have civil society, industry, academia, and so forth. And the idea is to bring together this broad range of stakeholders to share knowledge, also clearly to tackle the plastic waste problem from a sort of a Basel Convention perspective, which means looking at how to promote its environmentally sound management and also how to promote the controlled transboundary movement of that plastic waste. So just to go into the partnership a bit more. So again, it was established when the plastic waste amendments were adopted. That was in May 2019. Since that time, we now have approximately 220 member representatives in the partnership, representing 110 different entities. And as I said, these come from all stakeholder groups. You'll see there the objective is to promote, to improve and promote the ESM of plastic waste, and importantly, to prevent and minimize its generation in the first place. So how the Plastic Waste Partnership is working? Well, it is currently working in 4 different project groups, really to address the main areas of issue or entry points for the convention on this issue. So we're looking at, if you see on the right of the slide, prevention and minimization is one area where attentions are being focused. Then next in the waste hierarchy, we're looking at the collection, recycling, and other recovery of waste. Transboundary movements of waste is a third area, and then a general outreach and education arm of the partnership as well. Now, to complement the work, which really has just started in July in earnest last year, and they're very much in an information gathering phase at the moment. But really watch this space this year. There's going to be some fairly strong outcomes in terms of reports and really explanation of what the follow-up actions are going to be by the partnership in response to this baseline information being developed. But what is happening now under the partnership are these pilot projects, and really there's global pilot projects to promote the partnership and its objectives. Again, to involve all stakeholder groups in tackling this issue of plastic pollution. So what we have now, actually last week, 23 different projects were selected for global implementation. So I think with the exception of maybe Western Europe, there is going to be a project being implemented in every region globally to promote either the environmentally sound management of plastic, to promote innovations in this area, plastic alternatives, different ways of, actually there's a couple of projects on promotion of cleanup of plastic pollution. So really they're looking at the whole life cycle of the plastics issue. And we will be publishing details of these various pilot projects on our website shortly. So do be sure to visit and to look at the different initiatives that are going ahead. Now, just quickly, because I realize I think I'm out of time, but we also, under the conventions, the BRS conventions, have a number of other projects going on. Currently, we have a project in Sri Lanka and also in Ghana, looking at controls of transboundary movement of waste, ESM of plastic waste, and also tackling the waste at source. This project was also in Bangladesh for a time. I won't go into every point there, but I'm sure this PowerPoint will be shared for later consultation. Next, again, we have a very large project sponsored by Norway on, for one of the main areas is on the, provides for a small grants program on plastic waste. This is similar to the Plastic Waste Partnership pilot projects that I recently described, but the SGP is something that is operated through our regional centres globally. We have 22 Basel and Stockholm Convention regional centres globally, and they are really at the forefront of implementing pilot projects on plastic waste. And these have already, many of which have already been initiated. But these are some other areas in which Norway is supporting the work of the conventions also. We also have this plastic waste in remote and mountainous areas project, thanks to Sweden and France. Again, I won't go into the details, but really it's suffice to say that really coming from a Basel sense, we're looking at how to ensure the waste is managed in an environmentally sound manner. We do have ongoing cooperation with all of the entities mentioned here. I would like to take the opportunity before I end my presentation to really give a shout out to all of our donors who have been incredible over the past, well, since 2019 in promoting the Basel and Stockholm response to tackling plastic pollution. So we have the governments of Canada, France, as I mentioned, Norway has been a big contributor, Germany, Switzerland, Japan, the European Union, and Sweden, who have all been very generous. And we've actually managed to raise up to 10 million US dollars to support the plastics work under the convention in 2 years, which is quite something for these multilateral environmental agreements. And we hope to continue this good work into the future. So I'll leave the presentation there for today. Please, if you have any questions on any aspects of the BRS work portfolio on plastic pollution, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. Thank you very much.